Hey everyone, I hope the finished quality of this is not as dark. Um, I'm going to start a video series on my channel talking about something very near and dear to my heart because I experience it every day. I do live with multiple sclerosis. Notice I said live. I am a survivor. This disease is horrible. If you do not know what it is an autoimmune disease that attacks your central nervous system and has a wide variety and range of symptoms. No two people with multiple sclerosis are alike. That's why it's also known sometimes as a snowflake disease. I would like to talk about and tell my story. If it helps one person, then my life has been fulfilled. I live with this disease every day, and every day is different for me. I have good days, I have bad days. I may have several days in a row that are good, several days in a row that are bad or longer. I was officially diagnosed with this disease in 2014, but it is believed that the onset of this disease actually started with me in 2010. Now, before you think I have my dates wrong, let me explain. In 2010, I had an incident where I had a terrible headache at work. Now, at this time in my profession, I drove a forklift / tow motor, and I was driving and doing my job when all of a sudden there were two stop signs on the wall where I would enter the department to pick up the stock on the inspector packer lines. Now, I was just driving and I was fixing to enter the department, and all of a sudden the two stop signs it was kind of like a psychedelic effect that I saw, is the only way I can describe it, where it was just kind of like everything just had a shadow, and then it was just like I saw stop signs all the way across. Now, I was a responsible employee and quickly realized something was not right. So I immediately stopped and went and talked to my supervisor, and they kept looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I just have a horrible headache." And as they said, "I don't think you need to be driving." I said, "Well, obviously I don't know what's wrong." And so I called my father to come pick me up at work. And I hadn't looked in the mirror at this point, and when he picked me up, he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was just, wondering, that cued me that there was something wrong in my appearance for people to keep looking at me with their head to the side going like, "Are you okay?" So I pulled down the visor so I could look in the mirror, and I quickly noticed why everyone was asking me that, because for no apparent reason to myself, my eyes were both crossed inward towards my nose, and that was the reason I was having the visual disturbance of seeing, multiples of everything straight across, in front of me. I was immediately horrified, number one, and so I had called my eye doctor in my hometown here, and they examined me, and through the examination decided, dilating my pupils and looking that I had no petechial hemorrhaging or hemorrhaging inside the eyeball, and they could not see like anything that would be obstructing my vision that would make my eyes do that. So I was kind of like, okay, if you don't know, who knows? You're the eye doctor. I have a problem with my eyes. So I looked up and found what's called a neuro-ophthalmologist, and found the only one in this state, and scheduled an appointment with him. and he sent me for more comprehensive testing, such as MRIs. And at that time, in 2010, I was not showing anything on my MRIs as far as like a brain tumor or any kind of abnormal growth that alerted him to think, oh, this is what caused it. So he just officially said it was a sixth nerve cranial palsy, which each eye, is controlled by six nerves in your brain, that go stretch from your eye all the way to the base of your brain. So I was like, okay, well, when does this heal? Well, it was just more or less a waiting game. And after 6 weeks, I awoke one morning and my eyes were back to normal. I didn't have the double vision, nothing. And so I carried on with my life for the next 4 years. And now multiple sclerosis is very difficult I understand, them to diagnose. And I had been going to my primary care physician for a while for a variety of reasons, which were all set aside. All the symptoms I was experiencing were basically told to me as a result of my profession that I was in. I worked in a manufacturing facility, factory work. There's concrete where, and in the latter years I went back to being an inspector packer, which meant I was on my feet on concrete walking all the time. Well, the symptoms I were experiencing were extreme fatigue, which I did work in the heat. It was a very humid environment. I live in Kentucky, so this state, the weather is humid a lot. Anyway, with this weather here, it's give or take, it's Kentucky. So, I would experience symptoms such as my legs feeling extremely heavy, pins and needle feelings in my legs and my feet, electric sensations like moving in my body all the time. And that was still just put off as that was a symptom of the profession that I was in. So, after going to the doctor so many times and hearing that, it's like, okay, I have to have this profession. I like making that kind of money to, support myself and have things in life. So I just attributed everything that I was experiencing to the fact that I worked in a factory. So I still carried on and still worked, and then it was actually Halloween of 2014. I had went and at my age at the time had gotten my first pedicure. Well, I have always had a problem from time to time, as people do, with maybe getting an ingrown toenail, not to be gross. But that's what I had developed after the pedicure. So I was soaking my feet one day in one of the little foot bath things, and I was really doing it up. Had like my Johnson's baby oil in there. Wanted my feet to be all soft and pretty because, I'd got this done, wanted to keep them soft. Well, my phone was ringing in my kitchen, and in my living room, the floor had carpet, and in the kitchen, it was like the slick linoleum. So before I answered it, I thought I had dried my feet off enough on the carpet. Well, as soon as I stepped onto the kitchen floor, I slipped and I fell. Excuse me, I'm getting over bronchitis. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. I slipped and I fell. Well, I got this awful headache afterwards, and I went and I laid down. And when I woke up that next morning, my right eye felt different. Not my left eye, but my right eye. I was having the double vision. Well, at one point in time, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is like 2010. Then I thought, well, I really fell and I really hit the floor hard because I was not prepared for the fall, which, I just hit the floor hard. And so I went into work, and as the day went on, like, my vision, I could tell, was worse. Now I know what you're thinking, that you went to work in a manufacturing facility with your vision messed up. Well, I was raised to do for myself and never ask anyone for anything. Get it yourself, do it yourself. And that's the work mentality that I had. And so I knew, and I told one of my supervisors that, hey, look, something's going on with this right eye. And if I feel like I'm working unsafe, I will just stop what I'm doing, come tell you my brain is still working for the most part. And I've always been a little dinky. I'll go ahead and tell you that. So I scheduled an appointment again with the same eye doctor because I didn't want to waste time like I had in my hometown in 2010. I just wanted to cut out the middleman and go straight to someone who I knew could help me. So he immediately scheduled me for MRIs after my exam because he didn't see any bleeding, hemorrhaging, in my eyeball or anything. Well, after these MRIs, it was different. They moved me to a separate waiting room, and I thought I was just waiting for my disc to take back to the doctor, and they immediately admitted me. And they told me that they were pretty sure I had brain cancer, and that in the morning they would be in to do a brain biopsy and for me to get some sleep. Well, as you can imagine, I didn't get much sleep because I'm sitting here like, what? I just fell in my kitchen. I've had this happen before with my eyes, and they didn't mention cancer then. So then I'm like, really in my mind, like, oh my gosh, I gotta be at work tomorrow was the first thing that popped in. Then I'm like, why would they think I had brain cancer? Like, I don't feel sick, like, if I had something that they thought was that bad, wouldn't I be having other symptoms? And just a million thoughts were racing through I asked myself in my mind all night long, question after question, and answered myself, not out loud, so that doesn't make me crazy, right? So the next morning, the brain surgeon came in, and I was terrified. And he said, I don't want to cut into your brain today. And I was like, oh, well, this is great news. He said, I want them to rule out everything else that it could be. And I had a million questions for him. I was asking him, well, what else could it be if you all saw something that made you think I have brain cancer? And he said, your MRIs were bad. You had all these growths, but they could be lesions. I had no clue what he was talking about. I was like, what's a lesion? This was like, I'm an idiot 101 when it comes to my health, obviously. And he explained that was a symptom of multiple sclerosis. So you know what my next question was? What's multiple sclerosis? Because nobody in my family has it. And I remembered vaguely learning about it maybe in school in health class, but I've been out of high school a long time. And it was just, he was like, we'll bring you a packet for you to read. Right now we're going to send you for a spinal tap or lumbar puncture. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm not really sure what that is either, but that sounds like pretty painful also. So I could tell that I was going to be run through the mill of testing, which, was good. They ruled out a lot of things that I didn't have, cancer being one of them. And finally it was determined between the MRI test results, all the blood work. I mean, I was tested for everything that was kind of humiliating in a way, but I understand why they have to test for various things just to rule that out. So I'm thankful that they did that. The lumbar puncture was painful, but I'm glad that it was performed so that they could determine that, mixed with everything else, that I had multiple sclerosis, and at the time, pretty advanced case of it. And I figured out from the nurses telling me and me asking them a million questions, and the packets of reading materials they gave me so that I could read and know exactly what it is they were saying that I had. And it was very informational, but then I was immediately scared. And I think this is where I'll end my first segment talking about my life with multiple sclerosis. So thank you for watching if you tuned in. You can comment below, ask me questions, or just comment and say this video sucked. It may have. But thank you for watching. And I will be back soon with a second video. Thank you.